I've been studying Japanese on and off for the past 5 years, and just last year I decided I wanted to take it to fluency. I went at it hard for most of last year, and by the end I'd reached the point where I could comfortably understand most media. The issue I'm facing now though is, when can you call yourself fluent? And when is it acceptable to move on to the next language? I've barely done any output practice. So is that really fluency? Do I have to go hard on output before I have the right to move on? Am I overthinking this? Probably. But if I were to move on prematurely, before I had the confidence to say I'm fluent, what hope do I have for the next language? So the question is, at what point can you say you've learned a language? Initially, I just started learning Japanese because I was bored, looking for something new to sink my teeth into. I had just gotten out of a multi-year long League of Legends binge, and the language learning was the first thing that caught my eye. I went at it hard for periods at a time, always taking a year-long break between. That was until 2024, where I decided I'd like to take my goals to the finish line. The two goals I decided on was weightlifting and language learning. For language learning, I went back to the drawing board, given that the methods I kept trying whenever I came back wasn't really working. I tried a new method that closely mimicked how I'd learned English in the first place. This was not only highly effective for me, but it was also easy to the point I could spend hours on it. Which brings us to today. My skill level has skyrocketed, especially in terms of understanding, but did I reach my goal of taking my goals to the finish line? My goal when I first started learning Japanese was just to be able to understand. I didn't really care all that much about being able to communicate, but that changed last year as I went to Japan on a holiday. Now, I do actually care about that. I do want to have real conversations. I want to actually connect with people through the language. But that holiday also opened my eyes to travel as a whole. I want to see more places, more cultures, and I'd like to be able to have a deeper understanding of said cultures through the language. Which brings me to the dilemma. Do I prioritize becoming fully fluent in Japanese, whatever that means, before moving on to other languages? Or do I prioritize learning new languages to passable levels? Do I prioritize depth or breadth? My thought process as of now is to go at it for one more year with the goal of taking the JLPT N1 exam by the end of the year. Not because I actually care about the qualification, but just as an end marker for this language learning journey. I also do plan to take Italki classes throughout the year to hopefully be able to hold conversations comfortably. My reasoning is that it might be difficult to keep up motivation in a new language knowing that I didn't reach a level I was satisfied with previously. That said, I do have a strong urge to dive into other languages like Spanish or Chinese. But what are your thoughts? When do you think you can say you've learned a language? And when should you move on, if at all?